Thank you. Our speaker today is within us, and it is Linda Rush. They're new to our community, but they have certainly made themselves invaluable with doing the many things that are necessary for just keeping the church alive. So please welcome Linda Rush.
One more time, Herc. All right, that made me feel good. Are we good to go? Yeah, you might not have yet heard why it is that I asked to give a talk today, particularly when there's a theme you have to work with. This month it had to do with motherly love, but it's really because, as I read it said in A Course in Miracles, there are no accidents. And that was what I came to conclude after I found some bottles at the beach with messages inside of them. At first, I thought they were trash. I picked up bottles at Patterson Beach all the time. Beer cans, tequila bottles, whatever, usually to recycle. A lot of times people pick up stuff on the beach and they leave it at the top of the trail by the parking lot. Lost items, dog poop bags, or stuff they want the ranger to pick up. On the day that I found these bottles, they first struck me as remnants of a picnic. They looked like 4 beer bottles with the leftover sandwich baggies stuck inside, and they were covered with sand, left all at together at the top of the trail, and whoever picked them up off the beach left them there together for some reason. So I intended them for recycle, and I brought them home, and they sat on the garage step for a day or two because George told me those don't recycle because they had the lids on the top, but I figured they did come off, but he suggested they might be good for resale at the Unexpected Elephant. So since I volunteer there, I waited a couple of days and got around to cleaning them up. And that was when I decided they really weren't trash. I was trying to pull what I thought was these baggies out, and I realized what they really were. They were the heartfelt messages of, as best I could tell, a group of women who are about my age, quite possibly from the Spokane, Washington area, who apparently spent Easter weekend together here in Walport. For sure, they weren't from around here because they didn't understand the dynamics of the tide or catch the tide tables, because I think they threw them in on the way in and they just came right back. But once I read the messages, I was really glad that the women didn't see where their flotation efforts ended up. And once read, I understood their idea to be that the waves would surely ferry these bottles off for some length of time or to some faraway landing place, but no, they came right back. At first, I kind of felt sorry for their effort, ending in what was a seeming dud. But while I was still reading them, I was overcome with the certainty that, in fact, these messages were clearly meant for me. The writers might be disappointed to think their intended recipient was right here all the time, but as A Course in Miracles teaches, there truly are no accidents. I have incidentally heard this teaching in a study group to be subjected to argument, and I think that in order to be able to accept that nothing is random requires a bit of spiritual literacy. By spiritual literacy, I mean the art or the capacity to see or read God's presence in your daily life, all of it. Or in other words, to live your life as an experience of being in divine relationship. My faith, let's go ahead and start, Phil, I'm sorry. My faith in divine order magnified my sense of the honor in holding these pages. But why was I intended to pick these up? Maybe I needed a reminder that I'm seen and that I'm loved. I thought maybe, because certainly I felt that way when I got to have these in my possession. And maybe because of my circumstances. Because I'm in a position to share these words of wisdom with this community, where the impact of their intention could be magnified. God knew I would have an audience. And so the messages are for you too. I was very moved by these words and stories, and they gave me quite a lot to think about. even to take our time with it since we can. Because even if these women have never stepped foot inside a Unity church or been to a Course in Miracles study group, it was clear to me that they already understood some of the greatest truths of the life that they live in their own way. So inside of one of the sealed baggies, the paper was folded up, and on the outside, these words were written. Please read. In other words, don't throw this away. This is important to me. This is for you. Unfolded, this is how the message began. Life is a wild ride, equal parts heartbreak and magic. If you're holding this message, maybe you need a reminder that you're not alone. If you're holding this message, you're not alone. That statement conveys this writer's understanding of unity, of our shared consciousness, and how we can actually touch each other in the mind that we all share. And so it matters what we think about. It matters whether we beautify or pollute our shared reality with the thoughts that we entertain. As the Course in Miracles states, there are no private thoughts. When I read this, I felt her intention, her expectation that her message would not only convey her life's learnings, but that she was extending herself to touch another human being in a way that would make that person feel known and cared about. In this way, embodying what Eileen Lighthouse called last week the Divine Mother. And maybe most importantly, it didn't matter exactly who would receive that loving outreach. To her, it didn't matter. This was a gesture of unconditional love for anyone who might pick it up. So it read, be kind, especially when it's hardest. Forgive quickly, even if you never forget. The Course in Miracles clarifies for us that every behavior we witness in humanity is either an expression of love or a call for love. Remembering this is hard, but it helps to clarify what an appropriate response would be to anyone around us, no matter how they behave. Okay? We were out in the woods yesterday. I've got a cold. Not cold, but a little bit of allergy, so excuse me. Chase only what sets your soul on fire. Wow, a lesson for last week in the Course in Miracles said, don't value the valueless. A lesson many of us may have learned at this point in our lives. Okay. Speak only the truth and always remember to be true to thine own self. Take note that she quoted the word thine. We could therefore assume that she knows the difference between our soul or our true self rather than our fickle egoic self that's tossed about with the whims of other people's opinions. Next. When in doubt, go outside and look up at the stars and remember how small everything really is. You know, it happens that we all at some point need to reboot our thinking process as many times as we can remember to do so we can be open to truth and divine guidance. Okay? Don't ever forget your worth and that you only have one chance to live to the fullest. Don't sell yourself short. Do what makes you truly happy. I would add that contentment is not always found in the things of the world per se, but in only what is good, what is true, and what is beautiful. Okay? You're braver than you think and more loved than you ever know. Keep going. You're doing better than you realize. Now, don't you feel like you've just had a pep talk from your Divine Mother? With love from somewhere, a fellow traveler. And then she includes her email and her phone number, followed by a little heart. The act of throwing a message into the ocean for an anonymous reader is in its essence showing an awareness of the commonality of humanity, the connectedness, and that there are no accidents. It's a reaching out to the all through reaching out to each other. With love from somewhere, you're not alone. This was meant for you. And then we have letter 2. Now this one comes off as a little shy, talking to a stranger, but sweet nonetheless. Hello, stranger from the future. That made me feel like I was opening a time capsule. Then she wrote, the group I'm with all wants to throw a message in a bottle and I don't know what to say. I guess I'll just share some randomness. Here are some things I wish didn't take so long to learn in life. One, life is too short to hold grudges. Anger is like a hot stove. Holding on to it only hurts you. The significance of forgiveness and the withholding of judgment were very core teachings that Jesus conveyed to his disciples as the very ways to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth. The Course in Miracles goes so far as to say that the purpose of life is forgiveness. Judgment itself is the stance of our egos, which is the basis for the sense of separation from which we all suffer. Okay. 3, don't invest in people who show zero effort. Do you get the feeling that this woman has had a bad relationship or two? And yet, how many of us have ever felt stuck in the name of love? Stuck in relationships that left us feeling all used up? Particularly if we have some sense of role responsibility involved with others, including maybe frequently as mothers, and then again as daughters. George and I discussed this. I hope he takes no offense, but in our society, at least, men seem to be able to choose whether to feel responsible. But a sense of stuckness can come as a result of any relationship, familial or otherwise, leading to codependent situations. If you've not heard this before, it could be hard to swallow, but in A Course in Miracles, there are no special relationships. We are all related to each other as the one Son of God. If we could erase everything that we've ever been taught about the shoulds of relationships, we would naturally walk away from relationships that don't feel mutual, or from people who just use us without concern for our well-being. And so, vulnerability is like a sword. If given to the wrong person, it can be used against you. But in the right hands, you'll find those willing to defend you. The Course teaches us that we don't need defense, but the Bible still cautions us, don't throw your pearls before swine. And then here comes the true pearl of this letter. Everything is temporary. Everything is temporary. Let that sink in. This is enlightened thinking, and this would be our continual understanding if we truly lived in the present moment. George thought that was funny, and he didn't even read it.
Just having that tattoo was funny. Because it's funny.
Well, this is why I wouldn't let my kids get tattoos until they were adults. Here's a tattoo for you. This next one. Go ahead. All right, how about that? Yes, hair is temporary too. Get over it, right?
Cocking the snook. That's what it's called in England. Cocking the snook.
Oh, I get it, yeah. Well, hair is temporary too. The only thing that doesn't change is change. How about this one?
Oh.
How embarrassing. At least theirs will still grow back. But everything is truly temporary. Okay. Seriously, Not everything that offends you deserves defending yourself. If a stranger judges you, they don't have enough information or a context to make a sound judgment. The Course teaches that people who are in a state of judgment are asleep, dreaming the communal nightmare. They're ignorant of the holiness with which we are created. One of the lessons for this week from the Course in Miracles says, if I defend myself, I am attacked. Defending myself makes my own weakness into reality for me. It gives my illusion of weakness a perceived sense of threat, and that is the basis for the insanity of the world we live in. Slide. Shoot, she says. Can't think of much else. How about this? The 3 make that 4 ingredients that make my mac and cheese pop, which are sour cream, brown mustard, diced jalapenos, and juice from the jar. Now get that right. Pulverized, mild jalapenos from the jar with juice, and a teeny bit of liquid smoke. So on the scale of importance of the things it's taken her a lifetime or maybe lifetimes to learn, this lady puts her secret to great mac and cheese. But hey, at least she's willing to share it. Then she says, I hope you find something of value here from me. Thrown near Walport, Oregon, USA. The Course points out that the world we have made in effect, anyway, is a place where you don't ever want to give away your trade secrets, and sometimes even your grandmother's secret recipe, because what you give away, you've lost. But as these women have shown, we can transcend the world that we have made, and we can create a world based on God's law of love, a world where giving is receiving, and with love, that is always true. And sharing our truth, what we know to be true, makes that truth even more true for us. So, as I said, I believe that finding those bottles was no accident. And it's no accident that when given the idea of throwing out a message in a bottle, these 60-something women were drawn to send out their deepest wisdom in a gesture of anonymous nurturing. In his theory of psychosocial development, Erik Erikson taught that the stage of life from our 40s through our 60s is a time when we either develop generativity or a sense of our social responsibility toward our children and our community, or if we fail to grow in this way, we can end up in our late life feeling bitterness and stagnation and even despair. But if, like these wise letter writers, life has taught us to see the well-being of the rest of humanity as our goal, we will be blessed by feelings that our life still has meaning and integrity. In that way, even as we're aging out of it, we will have grown a sense of acceptance of our lives as they are, and we'll have the ability to find coherence and purpose in our experiences, and a sense of wisdom and fulfillment that we can't help but share. Next week, I would like to share with you, and I'm hoping you're intrigued by, the very different kinds of messages that were in the other 2 bottles. Thank you for your attention.
Do continue.